If I'm at an event where slam poetry and or a chant that includes "Hey hey, ho ho" begins, I am leaving. I don't really have much else to say about that. That's just something I realized. I was watching this documentary on what was it? Something to do with the opioid crisis, and I was like, yeah, this is not too surprising. It's still annoying. It's still just seeing how the state had these certain rules and things, and they were incentivizing different things with the insurance companies and with the regulations and their things of letting companies get away with these things. And then people come in. There was this one guy that was an immigrant from India. He came in legally, and he was all this, and he was an entrepreneur, and he was lauded by the markets and things like this, and he was all about the profits. And then he went in and he did this thing, and he was telling the people who were actually in this actual frontline documentary about, oh, you need to worry about the bottom line. And this one nurse was coming on and was like, yeah, I was going to prescribe a painkiller anyway, so I could prescribe this painkiller that actually had this sort of that earned me this amount of money because this company was going to pay us actual money when we gave the subscriptions or the prescriptions, or I could subscribe this other one that gained me no money. So yeah, I was going to supplement my income. I was a single mother raising 5 kids. I don't know if she said she was, no, she wasn't a single mother. She said, oh, my husband wasn't actually bringing in the same amount of actual salary, and I had 5 kids, so of course I was going to supplement. And she was just blasé. With some of this thing, this is a little aside, like I've talked about, like, okay, you guys are snitches. I'm not against snitches because I think snitches kind of saves the world because you expose bad things. But you're also, your ass is out too. Like, you coming out here and acting like, oh, you're just all of a sudden like this. No, no. Your ass out. I guess I understand the process. I think there can be a better legal system to prevent the whole like snitching thing. Oh, you can just snitch on somebody. I'm also reading a separate book. It's a really good book called Pretty Girls. It's some gruesome stuff in it, but it's a really good book. And there's this one line about the FBI. It's like, yeah, this is just how the system works. If we find you're doing something wrong and you snitch on somebody else and you point us towards somebody doing something worse, then we let you go about that wrong thing you did. So there is that thing with the whole snitching thing. But people are like, are you turning back in that money? All that money you gained from doing this, are you going to turn it back in now that you're snitching on this person who was supposedly so evil? No, they don't do that. So anyway, I guess I had a lot more to say about this thing. Like 2 minutes later, after not having much to say about this, Silas is still on and on and on. Okay, so at the end of this documentary, a lot of things that I was agreeing with, like, yeah, this is garbage. And I was like, okay, they're not going to point at the state. They're not going to point out that the clear thing that the state is all of a sudden now going to overcorrect and say, like, oh, now we're going to have these regulations where now you have to jump through all these loops in order to actually get some of these life-saving medications that actually do help people. Now it's like really hard to actually get some of these things. Yet before, now, struggle. It's garbage. It's so annoying. The war on drugs is so stupid. So anyway, so at the end of this thing, they were at an event, some community event, where these people had gone and they'd actually gone and they were protesting at this one particular private company. Instead of protesting at the state house of that location that allowed these laws, that the FDA allowed these things to continue, why are these people so good? Let these people go out to the market. Let private companies actually come in and regulate these things. Things can be done to actually regulate these things without relying on just the bureaucracy of the state that is just not effective at these things. So anyway, they come in and they're at one of the events. They're like, hey, hey, ho, ho, this company has got to go. Hey, hey, ho, ho. And it's just like cringe, cringe, cringe. And then a few minutes later, they're at some community event where somebody, a private individual, I think I might be mixing this up with the diabetes thing, because they also with the diabetes thing again with the FDA. They're the ones who had that food pyramid pumping corn syrup into people, subsidizing the making of corn and pumping corn syrup into the people's diets and feeding that to your kids in school, and all this carbohydrates and things that get transferred into glucose, and there's all this crap that goes through, and just the rise in diabetes. And this person in the private sector, this is a separate documentary, was actually getting up and he's actually inventing this new thing with different things. So this other lady gets surgery. She had like 3 kidneys. And I was like, wow, that's crazy. But anyway, so back to this thing. This was the actual documentary of the opioid crisis, of the thing, and there was some kind of community event of these people together, coming together and talking about the effects that these drugs were having. And I might be mixing this up with, I think I am mixing this up with actually. Anyway, at the end of one of these documentaries, either the diabetes one or the opioid crisis ones that I think were both in Frontline, they had slam poetry. I think it was the documentary of the diabetes one, because in that one it was slam poetry is more an urban type of thing. And there was somebody who had said, he was a scientist, private sector, he had started finding out certain problems with the increased use of sugars, increased absorption of sugars, just with the evolution, the way our bodies evolved. We had on average something like, I think he said something like 10 pounds or 10 kilograms of sugar a year on average in most of our revolutionary time, and then now we have the average American has something like 100 kilograms of sugar a year, something like that. But anyway, so the whole process, and this is something that has highly affected the urban community, the black community, the POC in the United States of America. And one thing that's in that is slam poetry, and that's when you get some poem and then you say it like this and then you do it like that, and then when you say the words you say them in a certain way that you are slamming whatever it is that you are saying. And that was a double cringe. And then just those two things together, and I was just like, yeah, I think from now on, if I'm ever at some kind of event, some kind of location, and I see one of these things starting, I think I'll just leave. Let me know what you think about that. So like, share, subscribe. You can go, I'm not going to leave a link to them, but you go on Frontline YouTube channel. They have some good documentaries there. Don't expect them to actually point the finger at the state. It's I think Frontline is a PBS thing. That's public broadcasting system, I think. And they are a taxpayer funded. So they're not going to bite the hand that feeds them, bite the hand that funds them. So you'll see some things. Problems occur not because of what X is, but because of how we define X. So when they're actually talking about X, they have very good documentaries pointing out X. But the definition of what caused X is where I think you at least I disagree with these Frontline documentaries a lot, and you might. But there's really good stuff on there. So there's some really riveting stuff. Things are put well together. So go check it out if you want to see one of these, and I think you'll see those two things. Those two separate things. But anyway, that's it for now. Like, share, subscribe. Links below to merchandise store or wherever you're listening to this. There should be links. If I'm posting this somewhere, there will be links somewhere close to this actual thing that you're actually listening and absorbing to merchandise store where I post different designs. And I think this hey hey ho ho thing could be a shirt. Goodbye.